So, I've been in a bit of a creative rut recently with my photography. I felt like I'm taking the same sort of photos, medium format portraits, over and over again, and it's getting a bit boring, to be honest, so I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. I also don't think I've been taking myself seriously enough.
From when I sort of started photography seriously, which is a good 4 years ago, my fascination has been with people, and it's weird to try and describe. I just find I'm so interested in people, how they live, their own lives, and how each character is so interesting. My aim with photography is always to try and evoke an emotion, and looking back at history and historical photographs, it's always portraits that tend to do that. Looking at the likes of Don McCullen's war photography and Steve McCurry's Afghan Girl, that sort of thing, it always tends to be the portraiture that has the most impact on viewers, and that's what I want to do with my work. So only it's natural to follow that curve, I guess, but generally just so fascinated by people, behaviour and mannerisms, expressions. It just makes me want to go and shoot portraits. Do you know what, it's interesting you say that, because I was looking back in my notes on my phone before I posted my first video, looking at my video ideas, and they were so centered around gear reviews and essentially titles and thumbnails. And because I've grown up watching YouTube and I know how important that is to the algorithm, but it's not worth sacrificing your authenticity as a channel, in my opinion. And it's always been really difficult, because what I've always felt is my unique selling point on YouTube is with, firstly, my age, but also the knowledge, because I've worked in a camera shop for 3 years and I've been literally obsessed with photography for so long now. I'm the biggest nerd when it comes to photography, and that is sort of what I saw as my unique thing in terms of having that technical knowledge. So I wanted to do gear reviews and give this knowledge, but as you do say, it's also a case of the more sort of authentic videos that do well as well. I literally grew up watching video game YouTubers, completely irrelevant, but I would spend so much time on YouTube. And one thing that I've only learned recently is the importance of cinema, because I was watching almost solely YouTube, which is very, well, in this case, was very low production, and have only recently, the past couple of years, been really getting into cinema and film, and just being able to appreciate that, because I haven't really grown up with movies as the older generation have done. And even my next video that is gonna be posting soon is all about shooting in the style of my favourite film, which is Lahane, and basically taking that whole style and implementing that into my own photographic process, and just didn't realise how greatly cinema can influence your photography. And that's something that I wish I would have learnt sooner, instead of watching a load of YouTube videos that are filmed on phones. Paris, Texas, from a colour palette point of view, beautiful film. Also, I have a habit of completely blurring the background in my images, which I know is known by now. But just throwing everything out of focus is what I gravitate towards. And watching that film, it's essentially shot in the desert, or in direct sunlight, and you can tell the aperture is stopped right down. You can see the full background, and just seeing that and seeing how they use background elements in the composition made me think that I need to start implementing that in my work, because it makes it so much more dimensional. I started a project in a seaside town, essentially one of the most deprived towns in England, way before Corona was a thing, and I was making regular returns, but when COVID came, it made it unsafe to go and visit them, and I built up such a good rapport and relationships with these people of this really like quite inaccessible town that hasn't really been photographed at all much, and I have some images there that I wanted to work on, because I always thought, like, why would these people give up their own time for something that doesn't benefit them at all? So I think with documentary photography, and it comes back to the protests, you have to make it beneficial, you know, for both parties. It all comes down to intentions, and if you're doing it for only personal gain, then I think that's where you need to start questioning yourself. And initial interactions I made for the first project, I was able to return with framed family portraits of this family that I met, and their reactions, you know, knowing, well, from what they said, they'd never afford a photographer to come and take family portraits, and just seeing those reactions made it sort of warrant my time there and made me feel like maybe I was doing the right thing. That was absolutely a worry. And even speaking to family members, that was sort of like, you know, just think about the way you go about it, because seeing firsthand the photographers there that were almost exploiting the photographic opportunity that was there, and that is the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. So it was really nice when I put that video out to have such positive feedback, which made it all worth it. I think it all comes down to intentions and the intentions that you have with the photographs. At the end of the day, that was such an important, you know, time in history for everyone. It needed to be documented in the best way it can. And I think as long as you're there and photographing, as you say, authentically, the events that happened there as a documentation and not, you know, accentuating things, then it's an important thing to do. And people have sort of been respecting for it, I guess, for the last like 2 years, deciding on a career path, especially with uni, whether I pursue like a reportage documentary route, because as I say, going back to the whole like making images that last, my real goal with photography is creating images that last, like even, you know, past me, and images with importance and substance, and documenting real things, especially in these times at the moment, I think is so vital. So it's a really tricky one, but I did a lot of street photography as well. Just before I was able to sort of find the models for portraiture, I would do street photography, so I think that played into the whole protest route really well. It's 7, it's fine. It's been good to finally talk. I feel like it's been a long time in the making.
Yeah, I'm working on getting more female photographers, so if you have any females that you know of specifically, make sure you send me those, because I'm looking to chat with some of them. So yeah, thank you again. I'll keep you updated on everything, and I'll see you later. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, you stay safe, man. All the best.
Peace.